The city looked alive at night, but to Arya Winters, the CEO known for her icy calm, it felt strangely hollow, as if something heavy was waiting to be noticed. It was almost midnight when she stepped out of her glass tower after a brutal 14-hour shift, her mind already drifting toward the silence of her penthouse. She had no plans to look anywhere except her car, no time for distractions, no patience for anything emotional. But just as she pressed the elevator's ground floor button, a strange instinct pulled at her, a soft, uneasy tug she couldn't explain. When the doors opened and she walked outside, the wind was biting, the streetlights flickered like dying candles, and the whole street seemed to be holding its breath. That's when she saw it, something tiny curled near the marble steps of her own building. At first she thought it was a stray dog, some small shadow pressed against the cold stone, but the second she looked again, something inside her heart tightened sharply. It wasn't a dog. It was a little girl, no more than 7, trembling so violently that her knees knocked together, wearing nothing but an oversized hoodie that swallowed her small frame. Her hair was tangled, her shoes too worn to keep out the cold, her fingers a frightening shade of blue. Most children cry loudly, but this one didn't. She cried like someone who had learned it was useless. Arya, who could face boardrooms and billion-dollar collapses without a flinch, suddenly felt her breath stutter. She found herself walking toward the child before she even made the decision. "Hey," Arya whispered gently as she crouched down. "Sweetheart, what are you doing out here? Where's your mom or dad?" The girl flinched so hard it broke something inside Arya. Instead of answering, she pressed her face deeper into her knees and whispered, barely audible, "Please? I'm not doing anything wrong." Arya's throat tightened. No child should speak like that. Not ever. "You're not in trouble," Arya said softly, lowering her voice even more. "I just want to help you." But the girl shook her head, trembling harder. "Please don't call anyone," she whispered. "They'll take me again. I'll be good, I promise. They'll take me again." The words hit Arya with the force of a punch. She swallowed her questions and instead slipped off her warm wool coat, draping it gently over the girl's shoulders. The moment the coat touched her, the child squeezed her eyes shut as if bracing for pain, but when none came, she slowly loosened the tension in her shoulders. "What's your name?" Arya asked quietly. After a long moment, the child lifted her head just enough to reveal terrified, glassy eyes full of exhaustion and something far older than childhood. "Lena," she whispered. Arya nodded softly. "Lena. I'm Arya. It's okay. You're safe." She didn't know why she said that, not when she wasn't sure of anything, but something about this child made her want to protect her with a fierceness she didn't understand. The wind slammed against the buildings, and Lena shivered violently under the coat. Arya felt something snap inside her. "You can't stay out here," Arya murmured. "Come inside with me, sweetheart. Just for warmth. I won't call anyone. I won't touch you unless you want me to. I'll get you hot chocolate, maybe something to eat. Please." Lena's breath caught. She wanted to trust. Arya could see it, but fear was wrapped around her like another layer of skin. "I'm not waiting for help," Lena whispered suddenly. "I'm waiting for my mother." Arya's blood ran cold. She stayed very still. "Where is she, Lena?" The girl looked up at the sky with a lost expression. "She told me to stay here," she said softly. "She said she would come back." Arya's heart sank. "When did she leave, sweetheart?" Lena counted on her fingers, her voice breaking. 3 sleeps ago." Arya felt sick. 3 days. A 7-year-old child had been waiting outside her corporate building for 3 nights, starving, freezing, alone. How many people had walked past her? How many had looked away? Arya's voice trembled for the first time in years. "Lena, come with me. Please." Lena stared at her for a long moment. Then, her voice shaking like shattered glass, she asked one question that destroyed Arya completely. "Are you going to leave me too?" Everything inside Arya shattered at once. That single, innocent question tore through every wall she'd ever built. And in that moment she knew, this child wasn't going to be just another passing moment in her life. Lena had already changed something inside her. And Arya Winters never ignored something once it changed her heart. Arya didn't realize she'd stopped breathing until she felt her chest tighten painfully at the little girl's question. "Are you going to leave me too?" Those words rang through her like a bell, shaking loose memories she had buried years ago, lonely childhood nights, an empty house, and a mother who loved her but was never home long enough to prove it. She forced the memory back and focused on the tiny trembling face in front of her. "No," Arya whispered, her voice barely holding steady. "I'm not leaving you." Lena blinked as if she couldn't believe it, as if promises were things that always broke before they reached her. So Arya extended her hand, slowly, carefully. Come inside with me. Just somewhere warm. That's all. You can sit where you want, keep the door open if that makes you feel better. I just want you safe. Lena stared at the hand for a long, frightening moment before she finally reached out and placed her small, ice-cold fingers into Arya's palm. And the moment their hands touched, something in Arya's chest clenched, not painfully but sharply, like life was reminding her she still had a heart. She walked Lena into the lobby, ignoring the shocked stares of the night staff. Arya Winters, the famously untouchable CEO, carrying a shivering child wrapped in her own coat. That alone was enough to spark rumors for years, but Arya didn't care. She guided Lena into her office, switched on the heater, and brought out the emergency stash of snacks she kept for nights when stress made her forget to eat. Lena sat curled on the couch, still shaking, still watching Arya as if she expected her to disappear. Do you like hot chocolate? Arya asked gently. Lena nodded slowly. With little marshmallows, she whispered. Arya felt her throat tighten again. I think I can manage that. While the water heated, Lena's eyes wandered around the room, the awards, the digital screens, the towering windows. Is this your house? She asked in a tiny voice. Arya smiled softly. No, this is my office. My house is much quieter. Do you live alone? The question surprised Arya more than she expected. Yes, just me. Oh. Lena wrapped her arms around herself. Mama and I used to live alone too. There was the crack in the story. Arya sat beside her gently. Lena, can you tell me what happened? The girl picked at her sleeve nervously, her small fingernails broken and dirty. Mama said we had to leave where we were staying. She said they weren't nice anymore. We walked a long time. Then she said she needed to go somewhere and told me to wait. She always comes back, Lena insisted quickly, her voice trembling. She always comes back. But 3 days was a lifetime for a child. Arya's heart twisted as she handed Lena the mug of steaming chocolate. The girl held it with both hands, warming her fingers, drinking like someone who hadn't tasted comfort in months. Do you know where she went? Arya asked softly. Lena shook her head. She said she was going to fix everything. Fix everything. Arya had heard that phrase too many times from desperate people on the edge. The fear in her gut deepened. What if the mother wasn't coming back? What if something had already happened? But she couldn't let Lena feel that fear, so she brushed a strand of hair from the girl's forehead and said, We're going to find her. I promise. For the first time, Lena's eyes softened. Really? Really? Arya called her driver and told him to prepare the car. She wrapped Lena in a soft blanket from her office closet, the same one she used during brutal all-nighters, and lifted her gently into her arms. Where are we going? Lena whispered. Somewhere safe, Arya said. My home. You can rest, and tomorrow we'll look for your mother together. The child hesitated, fear flickering again. You won't change your mind in the morning? Arya stopped walking. Kneeling so they were eye level, she cupped Lena's cheek gently. Sweetheart, I don't make promises I can't keep. And when I say you're safe with me, I mean it. Lena's lower lip quivered, and she buried her face into Arya's shoulder, clinging with a desperation that made Arya's eyes sting. She held the child tighter, realizing with a rush of protectiveness that no one, absolutely no one, had held this little girl in far too long. They drove through the quiet city streets, Lena finally asleep against her, trusting her completely now. Arya looked down at the small sleeping face, overwhelmed by a feeling she hadn't allowed herself in years. Something soft, something dangerous, something unbearably human. When they reached the penthouse, Arya carried her inside and laid her gently on the bed. She watched Lena curl into the blankets instinctively, her breathing finally calm. Arya sat beside her, brushing a hand over the child's hair. Lena, she whispered even though the girl was asleep. Whatever happens, you're not alone anymore. But just as she leaned back, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. An unknown number. Normally she would ignore it, but something about tonight felt different. When she answered, the voice on the other end was trembling, panicked, exhausted. Please, the woman cried, I'm looking for my daughter. Her name is Lena. Please, someone help me. Arya froze. And for the first time that night, she understood. This story wasn't just beginning. It was about to collide with something bigger. Something that would shake everything in her life. Arya stood frozen beside the bed, her heart pounding as the voice on the phone cracked with desperation. Please, the woman begged again, she's only 7. She was wearing a pink sweater and she had her little backpack. I looked everywhere. They told me to call every shelter, every station, every place with lights still on. I'm losing her, please? Arya's breath caught as she looked at the sleeping girl curled into her blankets. It was her. It had to be. But she didn't speak yet. She needed to understand the situation fully. Where are you right now? Arya asked, her voice calm but edged with urgency. The woman hiccuped through tears. I'm near the old market, down by the closed bakery. I'm sorry, I know it's late. I don't know what else to do. Exhaustion weighed in her voice like concrete, and Arya suddenly understood the depth of the woman's struggle. She hadn't abandoned her daughter. She had been fighting, searching, surviving. Maybe barely holding on. Arya looked at Lena again, the little girl who had walked alone through cold streets believing her mother might never return. A sharp pain twisted inside her, an ache of empathy and anger at a world that forced people into such darkness. Stay where you are, Arya said firmly. I'm coming to you. She hung up before the woman could protest. Then she took a deep breath and gently touched Lena's shoulder. Sweetheart, she whispered softly, wake up. We need to go find your mother. The girl's eyes fluttered open slowly, confusion melting into sudden hope. Mama? She breathed, almost afraid to believe it. Yes, Arya said, brushing a thumb across her cheek. But you stay with me, okay? You don't go anywhere alone. I'll take you to her. Lena nodded, clutching Arya's hand tightly as they hurried out into the night. The driver barely had time to blink before Arya ordered him toward the old market. The city outside the window glowed in blurred streaks, but inside the car, everything felt painfully clear. Lena sat pressed against Arya's side, her small hand gripping tightly as if any moment someone might take her away again. Arya held her closer, feeling the child's heartbeat thudding too fast, too scared, too young for such pain. When they arrived, the market was almost deserted. Cold wind whistled through empty stalls, and a lone figure sat curled near the bakery door. A thin woman, shivering violently, her hair sticking to her tear-streaked face, her clothes soaked from earlier rain. She looked up at the sound of footsteps and gasped. Lena? The girl froze, then made a tiny sound, half sob, half breath, before she flung herself forward. Mama? The woman collapsed to her knees, arms spreading wide just in time to catch her daughter. They clung to each other with a desperation that stabbed straight into Arya's chest. Lena cried into her mother's neck, repeating, I waited, and the mother, shaking from both relief and guilt, whispered back, I'm so sorry, baby, I'm so sorry. I never meant to leave you. I was trying to get money for food and then they took my things. I thought I lost you forever. Arya turned away for a moment, the raw emotion almost too much to watch. This was love in its most painful form, broken, bruised, but unshakable. After a minute, Lena's mother lifted her tear-filled eyes to Arya. You found her? Her voice cracked with gratitude and shame all at once. Arya stepped forward gently. She found me, she said softly. She was outside my building, freezing. I couldn't leave her. The woman covered her mouth with a trembling hand. Thank you. You don't understand, she's all I have. Arya crouched beside them. Then let me help you both, she said quietly but firmly. The woman shook her head immediately. I can't take anything. I can't owe someone like you. Like me? Arya asked, eyebrow lifting. I'm not asking you to owe me. I'm asking you to let me do something kind. No strings. The mother hesitated, disbelief etched into every line of her tired face. People don't help for nothing. Maybe not, Arya admitted. But tonight, I want to. Lena tugged on her mother's sleeve. Mama, she kept me warm. That simple sentence broke whatever barrier the woman had left. Her eyes flooded again as she nodded slowly. Okay, she whispered. Just for tonight. Arya smiled softly. For as long as you need. She guided them both into the car, and this time, it wasn't just Lena who leaned against her. It was her mother too, exhaustion finally catching up to her. As the car pulled away, Arya looked at the two of them curled together, and a surprising thought blossomed inside her. She had spent years building an empire, living alone in a penthouse that echoed with silence. But now, with a child's small hand resting against her arm and a mother trying not to cry into the blanket Arya had given her, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Connection. Humanity. Maybe this night hadn't happened by accident. Maybe she was meant to find them. Maybe their story was meant to collide with hers. And as the city lights blurred past the windows, Arya finally allowed herself to believe. Sometimes the heart breaks not to destroy you, but to open a door you never knew existed.